Hello and welcome to The Insider, a show designed to clue you into the biggest news, events and announcements inside the video games industry, discussing with you some things you may know, some things you may not, and the glue that holds it all together is a little bit of my own opinion. My name is Paul James, thank you very much for watching, and let's kick off another episode. So Paris Games Week is upon us. PlayStation is going to be there, they're promising a major show. The Paris Games Week event itself has been becoming more and more relevant in recent years, largely led by PlayStation's activities, and it's a great opportunity for them to really ram their holiday point home because Xbox and Nintendo at present are not major players at that particular show. PlayStation's going to be having a press conference, they're promising some big things, and in this week's episode of The Insider, I'm going to discuss a few of my predictions for that event that you can see airing next week. So the first game we have to discuss today is Detroit Become Human, the game coming from Quantic Dream and David Cage. Now personally, I'm playing the game probably about the time that you see this episode. I'm at PAX at the moment and I'm really hopeful that the game's quite good from what I play. But the press conference that we'll see next week is set in the Quantic Dream, David Cage homeland. They're Paris based, and it's going to be a great opportunity for them to just walk into their backyard and show all their adoring fans their latest work. Expect to see a release window, not a date, a release window, presumably in the back half of 2018, a new slice of gameplay, and a whole bunch more information. It's one of the more hotly anticipated games of 2018, and it's one that's well worth keeping an eye on as we get closer to this particular event.
Your order for an 8-bit Android has been registered.
Are you armed? No. I have a gun. Drop it. Touch him and I kill you. You can't kill me. I'm not alive. Tell that helicopter to get out of here. It's up to you how the story ends. I trust you. You lied to me, Connor. You lied to me.
While Gamescom is the big gaming event in Europe, Paris Games Week's influence is growing, and it's a great opportunity for local European developers to get out and show their wares. If you're a PlayStation first-party studio, it's your best opportunity to get in front of your local fans and show off what you're up to. Now, I've already spoken about Quantic Dream and the fact that they're based in France. The next studio I want to talk about is Media Molecule, the developers of Little Big Planet, Tearaway, and the In Limbo Dreams. We've known about Dreams for quite some time. There's been lots of promises as to betas, release windows, just what the game itself will entail. And at this point, none of those things have actually been followed through on. We don't have a release date. We haven't had a chance to play a beta. We really haven't seen that much of the game to know whether it's any good or not. This is a fantastic studio that's got some great games under its belt. This game is in limbo, and we need to know whether it's dead or alive. If it's dead, Media Molecule, what are you working on? Because there's only so long that Sony's going to be patient before they pull the plug. In the event that the game is alive and kicking, we need a lot of gameplay and we need a release date. This is your golden opportunity, please take advantage of it. There are two franchises that just, as a general rule, perform better in Europe than they do anywhere else. FIFA, for obvious reasons, is one of them, and Gran Turismo also does very well, much better in Europe than it does in America. And of course it does pretty well in Japan, but they just don't have the population. Both of those two games I would expect to have a fairly sizable presence at the PlayStation Showcase at Paris Games Week. The reason for this being that Gran Turismo has just come out. There's the promise of more content that's coming. This is a good opportunity for PlayStation to show off what some of that content is, while you can't really go through a PlayStation conference without a representative of EA coming out and talking about FIFA. So expect to see some new stuff about that game as well. Michel Ancel is one of the great minds in the video games industry. He is responsible for the likes of Beyond Good and Evil and Rayman, just to name a couple of his works in the past. He broke off a little while ago. He's still working with Ubisoft and he's still working on the upcoming Beyond Good and Evil 2, but he broke off a while ago to work on his own side project, one that he was calling Wild, and it showed a lot of promise from what we saw about 2 years ago. Problem is the game's gone completely silent since, and people are actually starting to clamour now for a little bit more news about this game. Is it alive? Is it dead? What has the presence of Beyond Good and Evil 2 done to this project? We want some answers. Hopefully at this PlayStation conference, we get a few of those. PlayStation's promising some big announcements at Paris Games Week. Ordinarily, I wouldn't have given this too much thought in the past. Paris Games Week is a much smaller event than Gamescom or E3, and it kind of backs into a weird sort of window where it's just come off the back of Tokyo Game Show, and PlayStation's centric event, PSX, is only about a month away. The weird thing about it is that it just means that you don't get too many big announcements, reveals, release dates, any of that sort of stuff. But PlayStation's promising big things here, and the consequence of that, in my eyes, is that we're going to get an announcement of a release date for one of the four big, we've already spoken about Detroit, but one of the four other big games that are coming to PlayStation supposedly in 2018. That includes God of War, Days Gone, Spider-Man, and of course, Shadow of the Colossus. The most likely one, I would suggest, based on the words that have come from PlayStation in the past, God of War, maybe a release date. They are already talking about early 2018, so he's hoping that we get a release date for that. But I think one of those four are the aces they've got up their sleeve for this particular conference. They'll kick off pre-orders in a big way, and then they'll ram the point home even further with a lot more to see at PSX in about a month's time.
Boy!
What?
Do it! Off the ice! No!
PlayStation is talking a pretty big game going into this Paris Games Week showcase, and there's good reason to. I've outlined a few points already that I think are fairly reasonable assumptions to make, and there's some pretty impressive assumptions as well. Don't expect them to go too crazy though. The reason for this being that Paris Games Week, while its importance is certainly growing, it's not a Gamescom, it's not E3, it's not Tokyo Game Show, and it's certainly not PSX, which is only a month away up following this event. Why would they go too hard when you've got media there and fans of other consoles there, when you can speak directly to your audience at the PlayStation Experience 2017 in Anaheim in about a month's time, and that's where you can drop a lot of those big bombs, what Sucker Punch is up to, more of these release dates that we're talking about. There's no real reason to. Look for some cool stuff that I've outlined here. Look for a bit more footage on Horizon Zero Dawn's The Frozen Wilds. Look for some low-key, maybe indie announcements, but don't expect anything massive. It's going to be a good showcase, but just curb your expectations a little bit.
Hey! So, do it.
Yeah, come on. I wasn't gonna let him kill you. Besides, who the hell else around here knows how to rebuild a carburetor? Just back up. Nice and slow. Don't make a sound.
So that wraps up another episode of The Insider. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit those buttons down below where you can catch up with, as a result, weekly episodes of The Insider, of Patched, of the Video Games Club. There's weekly Player 2 plays, and there's a whole bunch more that can only be found at our YouTube channel. Make sure to visit the website, player2.net.au, where you can catch up with all the awesome written content. There is a ton of it at the moment. Like I said earlier, I'm off to PAX as we speak. There's going to be a ton of content coming from that. There's going to be tons of reviews because we're at the busiest time of the year. There's lots to see, and again, all that stuff can only be found at the website. Please make sure to keep up with daily updates via myself or the website, Player2AU for the website, Paul James P2 on Twitter. And otherwise, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.